Madonna saw the little girl in the wheelchair during her third song. By the fifth song, she'd made a decision that would shut down a $2 million production. By the seventh song, she stopped the entire show. What nobody in that arena knew, not the 60,000 fans, not her crew, not even her manager, was that 23 years earlier, Madonna had made a promise to someone who never got to see her perform. Tonight, she was finally keeping it. It was June 15th, 2006, at Wembley Stadium in London. Madonna was in the middle of her Confessions tour, which had been described by critics as the most technically ambitious show in pop music history. The production involved 43 trucks of equipment, a crew of 200 people, and a stage that cost more than some small movies to build. Every second of the show was choreographed, timed, and planned down to the millisecond. The lighting cues alone took 6 weeks to program. One wrong move, one missed cue, and the entire production could fall apart. Madonna had performed this exact show 47 times already. She knew every beat, every movement, every moment. Nothing surprised her anymore. Until tonight. In the third row, center section, seat A17, sat 8-year-old Sophie Martinez in a bright pink wheelchair. She was wearing a homemade Madonna costume, a gold leotard covered in sequins that her mother had spent 3 months making by hand. On her head was a cone-shaped hat, just like the one Madonna had made famous in 1990. Sophie had cerebral palsy. She'd been born 3 months premature, weighing just 2 pounds, and the doctors had told her parents she'd never survive her first night. Then they said she'd never leave the hospital, but she did. Then they said she'd never speak, never understand, never connect with the world around her. They were wrong about that too. Sophie loved Madonna with an intensity that most people reserve for family members. She'd memorized every song, every dance move, every outfit. Her bedroom walls were covered with Madonna posters. She watched Madonna's music videos on repeat, moving her arms along with the dancers, even though her legs wouldn't cooperate. For 2 years, Sophie had begged her mother for one thing: to see Madonna perform live. Her mother, Sophie Martinez, had been saving money for just as long. She worked 3 jobs, mornings at a bakery, afternoons cleaning offices, and evenings doing alterations from home. She saved every extra pound, every tip, every bit she could set aside. The tickets cost £450 each. For 2 tickets in the third row, Rosa had worked an extra 900 hours over 2 years. She never told Sophie how much the tickets cost. She never told her about the nights she went to bed hungry so she could add another £20 to the Madonna ticket fund. She never mentioned the winter coat she didn't buy, or the shoes she wore until they had holes. All Sophie knew was that on her 8th birthday, her mother handed her an envelope with 2 tickets inside and said, "We're going to see Madonna." Sophie had cried for an hour straight from pure joy. Now, on this warm June evening, they were here. Third row, center section. So close to the stage that Sophie could see the dancers' expressions, so close that when the bass dropped, she could feel it vibrate through her wheelchair. For the first 3 songs, Sophie was in absolute heaven. She was singing along to every word, her small voice lost in the roar of 60,000 people, but her joy visible to anyone who looked at her. During Hung Up, she was moving her arms so enthusiastically that her cone hat fell off twice. During Get Together, she was laughing so hard that tears were streaming down her face. During Like a Virgin, she closed her eyes and sang with her whole heart. That's when Madonna saw her. Madonna was crossing the stage during a costume change transition, and in that brief moment, when the spotlight swept across the crowd, She caught a glimpse of something pink in the third row. She looked closer. There was a little girl in a wheelchair, wearing a gold-sequined leotard and waving her arms like she was conducting an orchestra. She was radiating pure, undiluted joy. Madonna felt something catch in her throat. She continued with the show, but her eyes kept drifting back to the little girl in pink. During Ray of Light, Madonna watched as the child sang every single word. During Forbidden Love, she saw the mother lean down and wipe tears from the little girl's face. Not sad tears, but tears of overwhelming happiness. By the time they reached Like a Prayer, the seventh song in the set, Madonna had made her decision. She was halfway through the second verse when she stopped singing. The music continued for a few more bars before the band realized something was wrong and gradually stopped playing. 60,000 people went from singing along to dead silence in about 10 seconds. The sound engineer's voice crackled in Madonna's earpiece. "Madonna, what's happening? Are you okay?" She didn't respond. She was walking to the front of the stage, to the edge where the security barrier separated her from the audience. Her manager, who was watching from the side stage, felt his stomach drop. This wasn't in the script. Nothing about this was planned. Each minute of stage time cost thousands of dollars. The broadcast was live in 37 countries. Sponsors were watching. Critics were watching. The world was watching. Madonna knelt down at the edge of the stage and spoke into her microphone. Her voice echoed through the stadium. "There's a little girl in the third row, the one in the pink wheelchair with the gold costume." The spotlight operators, confused but professional, swung their lights toward where Madonna was pointing. Suddenly, Sophie Martinez was illuminated by 10,000 watts of light. She froze, her arms still raised mid-dance, her mouth open in shock. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Madonna asked. Sophie couldn't speak. She was staring at Madonna like she'd just seen an angel appear in real life. Her mother leaned down and whispered, "Go ahead, baby. Tell her your name." "Sophie," the little girl finally managed to say, her voice so quiet that the crowd had to strain to hear it. "Sophie Martinez." "Sophie Martinez," Madonna repeated, and hearing her name in Madonna's voice made Sophie burst into tears. "How old are you, Sophie?" "8, Sophie said through her tears. "I saw you dancing," Madonna said, "and 60,000 people were so silent you could hear the traffic outside the stadium. You've got some serious moves, Sophie. Where did you learn to dance like that?" "From you," Sophie said, and the simplicity of those two words hit everyone in the stadium at once. Madonna stood up and turned to her crew. "I need somebody to bring Sophie up here. Can we do that?" There was a moment of chaos as security guards and crew members scrambled. The regulations were clear. No audience members on stage. The insurance didn't cover it. The liability was enormous. This had never been done before. Madonna's manager was already on his phone, probably calling lawyers, but Madonna wasn't asking for permission. She was making it happen. Within 2 minutes, security had created a path through the crowd. Rosa was wheeling Sophie toward the stage, both of them crying now, both of them unable to believe this was real. Getting a wheelchair onto the stage required 4 security guards and a portable ramp that the crew had to quickly assemble. The entire stadium watched in silence as Sophie was wheeled up the ramp and onto the stage where Madonna had performed for millions of people. When Sophie's wheelchair reached the center of the stage, Madonna walked over and knelt down beside her. "Sophie," Madonna said softly, but because her microphone was still on, everyone could hear her. "I'm going to tell you something that I've never told anyone publicly before. Is that okay?" Sophie nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. "When I was a little girl," Madonna began, "my mother got very sick. I was 5 years old, and I didn't understand what was happening. All I knew was that my mama was in pain, and I couldn't help her. The stadium was so quiet that people in the back rows were holding their breath to hear better. My mother loved music more than anything, Madonna continued. She would dance around our kitchen with me and my brothers and sisters, and she would sing, and for those few minutes, she wasn't sick anymore. She was just my mama, dancing and laughing, and alive. Madonna's voice broke slightly, but she kept going. One day, when she was very sick, I told her that when I grew up, I was going to be a famous singer, and I was going to perform just for her. She smiled and said, "Promise me something, Madonna. Promise me that when you're up on that stage someday, you'll remember that there's always someone in the audience who needs that moment, just like I needed it. Promise me you'll see them." Tears were streaming down Madonna's face now, and she wasn't trying to hide them. "My mother died 3 weeks later," Madonna said. "I was 5 years old, and I never got to keep that promise to her. I never got to perform for her. For 23 years I've been on stages around the world, and every single show I've looked for that person. The person who needs this moment, the way my mother needed music." She turned to look at Sophie, who was crying so hard she could barely breathe. "Tonight, I found you, Sophie. Tonight, I'm keeping the promise I made to my mother." Madonna stood up and addressed the 60,000 people in the stadium. "This next song isn't for you. I'm sorry, but you're all going to have to just watch. This song is for Sophie, and for my mother, and for every person who's ever been told they can't dance." She turned to the band. "Can we do Crazy for You? Just piano and voice, nothing else." One of her keyboard players came forward and sat at the grand piano that had been set up for the acoustic section of the show. Madonna pulled a wireless microphone from her belt and handed her main microphone to Sophie. "You're going to sing with me," Madonna said. "Just you and me, okay?" Sophie nodded, holding the microphone with both hands like it was made of glass. The piano began playing the opening chords of Crazy for You, one of Madonna's most beautiful ballads from the 80s. It was slower than most of her songs, intimate and emotional. Madonna began singing, and her voice was softer than anyone had heard it all night. She wasn't performing for the stadium, she was singing to Sophie. Swaying room as the music starts. Strangers making the most of the dark. Sophie was staring at Madonna, tears still streaming down her face, but she was smiling. When Madonna reached the chorus and pointed the microphone at Sophie, the little girl sang with her. Sophie's voice was small and shaky, but she knew every word. She sang like someone who had sung this song 1,000 times alone in her bedroom, dreaming of this exact moment. "I'm crazy for you. Touch me once and you'll know it's true." 60,000 people watched in complete silence as this international superstar sang a duet with an 8-year-old girl in a wheelchair. There was no choreography, no elaborate lighting, no costume changes, just two people sharing music. When the song ended, Madonna hugged Sophie. It wasn't a quick celebrity hug for the cameras. It was a real hug that lasted almost a minute. Sophie buried her face in Madonna's shoulder and sobbed. "You know what?" Madonna whispered into Sophie's ear, but the microphone picked it up. "You dance better than half my professional dancers. You dance with your heart. And that's the only kind of dancing that really matters." She pulled back and looked Sophie in the eyes. "Don't let anyone ever tell you that you can't do something. You hear me? You're already doing the impossible just by being here." Madonna stood up and addressed the crowd. "I want everyone here to understand something. This little girl's mother worked 3 jobs for 2 years to buy these tickets. She saved every penny she had because her daughter loves music that much. That's not just a mother's love. That's sacrifice. That's dedication. That's the kind of love that changes the world. She looked at Rosa, who was standing at the side of the stage, crying so hard she could barely stand. "Rosa Martinez, you're an incredible mother, and I want you to come up here too." Rosa was brought onto the stage, and Madonna hugged her just as fiercely as she'd hugged Sophie. "Thank you," Madonna said to Rosa. "Thank you for raising a daughter who knows how to love something with her whole heart. Thank you for showing her that dreams are worth working for. You're a hero." The stadium erupted into applause. It started as polite clapping, but grew into a thunderous roar that lasted for over 3 minutes. People were crying. Strangers were hugging each other. Security guards were wiping their eyes. Madonna turned back to Sophie. "I have something for you," she said. She walked backstage for a moment and came back with a black leather jacket covered in studs and rhinestones. It was the jacket she'd worn during Ray of Light, one of the most iconic pieces from the tour. "This is for you," Madonna said, draping it over Sophie's shoulders. "It's going to be too big for you now, but you'll grow into it. And when you do, I want you to remember this night, and remember that you're capable of anything." She also took off the cross necklace she was wearing, a piece she'd worn in dozens of photos and music videos over the years, and placed it around Sophie's neck. "This is blessed," Madonna said. "My mother gave it to me before she died. Now I'm giving it to you." Sophie looked down at the necklace and then back up at Madonna. "I'll take care of it," she whispered. "I promise." "I know you will," Madonna said. She turned to the band. "All right, let's get back to the show. But I'm telling you right now, nothing we do for the rest of the night is going to top that moment." Security helped Rosa wheel Sophie back down the ramp and back to their seats. The entire stadium gave them a standing ovation as they returned to the third row. When Madonna started singing again, she couldn't stop smiling. The show continued for another 90 minutes, but everyone there knew that those 12 minutes with Sophie had been the real performance. The footage of that night went viral, before the term "going viral" was really a thing. Clips of Sophie and Madonna singing together were shared millions of times. News outlets around the world covered the story. People who'd never even liked Madonna's music said they were crying watching the video. But more importantly, something changed in the way people saw Madonna. For years, she'd been known as ambitious, calculated, and tough. After that night, people saw something different. They saw someone who understood what it meant to need music, to need that moment of connection and recognition. Sophie Martinez became a minor celebrity herself. Her story was featured in magazines and talk shows, but she never let it change her. She kept being exactly who she'd always been, a little girl who loved to dance, even when her body didn't always cooperate. Rosa Martinez cried every single day for a month after the concert. She'd later say in an interview, "I saved money for 2 years to give my daughter 3 hours with her hero." Madonna gave her something much more valuable. She gave her the belief that she mattered, that she was seen, that she was enough. The leather jacket and necklace stayed in Sophie's room, carefully preserved. She never wore them again, even as she grew older. They became symbols of that night. Reminders that sometimes the universe aligns in ways we never expect. Years later, a journalist asked Madonna about that night at Wembley. "Do you ever regret stopping the show? It cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. It created chaos for your crew. It broke every protocol." Madonna didn't even hesitate. "That was the most important 12 minutes of my entire career. Every other show I've ever done, every award I've ever won, every record I've ever sold, none of it matters as much as that moment with Sophie, because that's what my mother wanted me to understand. Fame doesn't mean anything if you don't use it to make someone's life better." She paused, thinking back to that June evening. I saw myself in Sophie. I saw the little girl I used to be, dancing in my kitchen with my mother, believing that anything was possible. I saw my mother in Rosa, sacrificing everything for her child's happiness. And I finally understood what my mother was trying to tell me when I was 5 years old. What was she telling you? The journalist asked. That love is the performance, Madonna said simply. Everything else is just noise. Today there's a photo in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame archives. It shows Madonna kneeling beside Sophie's wheelchair, both of them singing into the same microphone, both of them crying, both of them completely present in that moment. Below the photo, there's a plaque that reads, June 15th, 2006. The night Madonna stopped a show for a little girl in a wheelchair and reminded 60,000 people what music is really for. Sophie Martinez is 26 years old now. She still uses a wheelchair. She still loves Madonna, and she still has the leather jacket and necklace from that night, preserved like holy relics. But what she says she treasures most isn't the memorabilia. It's the memory of feeling seen, of feeling like she mattered, of being told by her hero that she was capable of anything. Madonna gave me 12 minutes that night, Sophie said in a recent interview. But those 12 minutes gave me a lifetime of confidence. Whenever I doubt myself, whenever someone tells me I can't do something, I remember standing on that stage. I remember Madonna looking me in the eyes and telling me I was capable of anything. And I believe her. The story of Madonna and Sophie reminds us that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is stop. Stop performing. Stop following the script. Stop worrying about the cost or the consequences, and just see another human being who needs to be seen. Madonna had performed for millions of people over decades of touring, but that night at Wembley, she performed for an audience of one, and in doing so, she created a moment that touched millions. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Share it with someone who needs to be reminded that they matter, that they're seen, and that they're capable of more than they know. Drop a comment and tell us about a time when someone stopped everything just to make you feel special. And ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next incredible true story about the heart behind the music.